Hi everyone, welcome to a new video. Thanks for joining me today. So today I will be drawing orcas, and this is an original drawing, so it's my own design, composition, and this is also a tutorial for Patreon. So it is available for all the $7 members and up. So if you're interested in drawing along with me on this one, have a look at the link in the description. You can find all the information there, and also the tutorial library where you can see all the tutorials that I currently have available. So if you want to join me, have a look at the link in the description. So I'll be drawing orcas, and I've drawn orcas before, which was also an original drawing. I did that one in 2017, and you can see that one right now on the bottom left. And I decided to reference the orcas from that picture for this one. So I took those orcas, I adjusted them a little bit. I drew the big orca in the old one a little bit fat, so I made mine a little slimmer now. Also, I looked at several different pictures of orcas to get the anatomy right. And I sketched those in first with a light pastel pencil. So I'm working with pastel pencils on this one, but I'm also working with color pencils, so it's a combined piece. So I sketched all the orcas with a light gray pastel pencil, and then I started doing the background with just pastel pencils. So the background is pastel, and then the orcas will be completely colored pencil. And I'm working on pastel matte. The color is dark gray and the size is 12 by 16 inches, so it's rather large. And I've really had a lot of fun with this one because I could have a little bit more freedom. I didn't need to follow a specific photo, so I could just put some of my own imagination into it, and I really have a lot of fun with these kinds of drawings. So for the sky, I started with the sky, and I took a picture from Pixabay for that one, and I edited it. So in the original picture, the sky is blue, but I made it more pink and purple in Photoshop. So that's what you're seeing in the bottom left, and I referenced my Photoshop reference picture for the sky in the drawing. So you can see that I'm adding several tones of blues and pinks and smudging them together, making the sky towards the water a little bit more pinkish, and then the more I go up, the more it will be blue. And I also added some nice clouds. You can see that I am not copying the picture. I am making the colors slightly more vibrant and a little darker. And I just had a lot of fun playing around with all the different colors. So my goal wasn't really photorealism with this one. I wanted to be more free with it, make it nice and colorful, and just make it a nice, colorful perception of nature. But it's definitely not a hyper-realistic or photorealistic drawing. It's something different from what I usually do, and I think it's a really good addition to all the tutorials that I have. So then after finishing the sky, I will be adding a sun later on because I felt that the sky was a little bit too bland at this moment, but I'll be moving on to that later. So I first decided to move on to the water surface, and for that I am really copying the picture on the bottom left because I really needed a good reference photo for getting this to look realistic, because I wanted this part to be nice and realistic to make it a believable image. And the most important thing for drawing water surface like this is to get a lot of contrast in. So we have the very dark lines, which are not straight, so I made nice and wavy dark lines, but also some very bright highlights on the surface as well. And I also added in that nice wave in the center. So then I moved on to the water, and for the water I just decided to pick some blues that I liked, still working with the Stabilo Carbatellos. So I did all the pastel work with Stabilo Carbatello pencils and just mixed several different blues together to get some nice variation in the water. And I also made sure to make the water at the surface a little bit lighter than the water down below, because the more to the bottom you get, the darker the water gets, because there's not much light hitting there. And especially below the orcas, I decided to make the water nice and dark, because the orcas are also casting shadows. They are blocking the lighting, which means that the water will be even darker right there. And then I quickly finished that. So that was just a case of layering and blending until the water looks smooth. I added a little bit more light blue at the surface, and then I figured that the water was finished. So now I felt that the image looked a little bit bland and I needed a light source. So that's why I added this bright sun on the right. So now it gets more of a sunset look, which I really like. So we now have a nice bright light source, so that I can also add some sun rays in the water at the end. And I decided to add the sun on the right to get a nice movement in the picture. If you add the sun in the center, it might look a little bit too posed, so I decided to add the sun on the right. And then I considered the water finished. I added some air bubbles, but I will be adding more. First, I decided to move on to the orca. So now I am switching to colored pencil, to the Faber-Castell Polychromos. And this first orca is really fun, because you can see the belly a lot. It's like tipping over. So I made sure to add the orcas in different positions so that it wasn't too static looking. I also intentionally made them come forward a little more instead of drawing them exactly from the side. So with Polychromos on pastel mats, you can do endless layering. So basically you can keep on layering colors until you like the effect. So that's why I sometimes prefer to do colored pencil on pastel mats. You could do this exact same image with pastel pencils fully, so also do the orcas with pastel pencils. You would get somewhat the same result. But sometimes when I wanted a little bit more of a crisp effect for the foreground subject, I like to pick colored pencil. So the orcas are black and white, but when they are in water, they will reflect the colors from the surroundings. So I made sure to start with lots of different blues, but also add magenta and even some orange. So I'm starting off rather light, and then I continue to build up darker as I go. So I mainly added cobalt blue, I think, and indanthrene blue, and dark indigo as well, and light magenta for the base tones. And then for the belly area, I added a light gray, but also glazed some violet and some sky blue on there as well, because especially white will reflect a lot of color. So white is never white, also when you're drawing furry animals, but especially when drawing animals in water, they will reflect all the colors of the water and the sky. So that's really nice. So the secret to drawing with colored pencil on pastel mat is a lot of layering. So you have to keep your pressure quite light, and you have to do a lot of layers before the paper is starting to get saturated. So the secret is to keep that patience, because if you start pressing too quickly and press really harshly, you get a shine, and then your paper gets saturated too quickly, which is not really a nice effect. So you have to do endless layering with very little pressure and keep the colors very smooth this way. But actually it didn't take too long to finish. So I also made sure to add that highlight along the top of the orca, along the head and the back. And I also added some black and some white. So I saved the black and the white for the very end. So I do the first layering with slightly neutral colors, not too dark, not too light. And then in the end I hype up the contrast by adding black and white to it as well. You can do light on dark layering pretty easily, also with colored pencil on pastel mat. So you can start with the darker base tone and then add some lighter details on top. And then when the first orca was finished, I moved on to the baby one in the center and then moved on to the one on the right. And I did those in exactly the same way with the same colors. And it was just a very relaxing project to work on because it's so forgiving to work on. So if you make a mistake, you can pretty easily correct it. Just like with pastel pencils as well. Okay, so doing the first layering with the more neutral colors, with the blues and the magenta, and then finally taking black to darken up the belly area. So the areas that are not catching much light, those I will darken up with the black, and then the white patterns on the belly and the eye, which catch more light, I lighten up with white. And then I decided to add a little bit of cadmium orange along the top line and the dorsal fin. Also added some of the water reflections with white. And then the orcas were finished, but I decided that I wanted to add something more. So I was doubting between adding more fish or maybe another animal. Oh, I also did some light rays first, so I did this with colored pencil. So I added the colored pencil on top of the pastel, which went really well actually. So just with light pressure, adding a few light rays, and I did that with ivory. And then I also figured I wanted to add a few more larger air bubbles. So I explain how I do that in the lesson as well. The lesson is fully in real time with narration. There have already been really nice results been sent in. And then I decided I wanted to add some jellyfish. So I figured I wanted a little bit more of a brighter orange animal in there for the extra color, but I didn't want them to stand out so much. So I added 3 jellyfish swimming to the right to contrast the orcas, which are all swimming towards the left. And I just drew those in with the color pencil as well. So using the polychromos on top of the Carbonatello pastel pencils. You can see that the jellyfish are not standing out so much, but that's what I wanted. And this makes that the image is not very photorealistic at all. I didn't at all take note of the environment that the orcas were living in and if they would actually live together with jellyfish like that. But for this one, I didn't really care. I wanted a nice image with nice colors, and I think I have achieved that, and I really love this picture. For me, it expresses freedom and beauty of nature, which I really love, and I just love to draw orcas. So after about 7 hours this drawing was finished. I will also show you the end result, and I really hope you like it. Let me know what you think of this drawing in the comments below, and definitely have a look on my Patreon if you want to draw along with this one. And then I really hope you liked it. So if you have any questions, let me know, and then I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.